Hi everyone, my name is Vera and thank you for joining me today on discussion about AML challenges, regulations and compliance. We got Thanos and Graeme today with us. So Thanos, hi, how are you?
Hello, thank you for having us.
Could you please tell us a bit about yourself and your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'm Thanos. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Cyberscope. It's a cybersecurity blockchain company. I've been in software engineering for 10 years and then switched to cybersecurity and in blockchain over the past 4.5 years.
Okay, thank you. Graeme, hi, welcome. Could you please tell us about you and your experience in the AMLBot in general?
Yes, hello, I'm Graeme Hampton. I'm, as you said already, from AMLBot. I'm an AML anti-money laundering advisor, and I co-chair with the International Association of Trusted Blockchain Applications. Previously, before crypto, I worked in the payment industry for many years and switched into crypto in 2018. And I started to help crypto asset service providers to become licensed, to set up their AML framework, and then for the business to become active. So I started that journey in Estonia because it was one of the early adopters, and it attracted crypto operators at that particular time. So I specialize in AML compliance, and the merge now is between decentralized systems and regulations, and where the investor safety actually plays its role. So that's probably enough to start things off from me. Thank you.
Okay, Graeme, thank you. So the first question would go out to Thanos. So Thanos, could you please tell us from a cybersecurity perspective, what are the most sophisticated types of fraud and which you encountered, and how can AML frameworks be fortified to combat them? How can we make it better?
Okay, so I think we can all agree the most common attack is phishing attacks, social engineering in general, and phishing in particular. We've seen malware attacks, we've seen insider jobs as well. Now, how AML, there are a lot of solutions to securing from these attacks, but as in context of AML, I believe multi-layer authentication, biometric authentication could be a thing. Continuous monitoring on blockchain level, transaction level, sometimes collaboration and information sharing between providers as well. You will see many times central exchanges working with DeFi protocols or with institutions where wallets are reported for AML because they have suspicious transactions from mixers.
Okay, thank you. So Graeme, you get the fun question apparently. So could you please share a success story about any of your investigations?
Yeah, I can probably be quite general about it. I think the general aspect of it is that when you're doing your due diligence and something doesn't match, either through enhanced due diligence, and in this particular case that I'm referring to, the business case didn't really resemble the transactions that started to happen. So it created a red flag. EDD wasn't satisfied with the questions, and then a report had to be made. The FIU quite promptly responded within 3 days on the case that comes to mind to say that this was a human trafficking case. So when they discovered the people that were involved in this company, they were able to tap further, and then they found that there was information on these people. So they were presenting as a car parts business. And generally car parts, some of them can be expensive, no doubt, but these sums of money they must have been Ferrari engines that they were selling as car parts, and that wasn't in the business case. Generally, it was just small car parts. So the behavior wasn't right. So when you get that intuition, sometimes we're not law enforcement. We're just seeing a behavior to think this doesn't match. So this was a success case. This was we don't always get the feedback. Sometimes we present something and we don't get the information back. But that one it was a few years ago now. We're talking 4 years ago on that case. And yeah, that's probably not unheard of.
Okay, Graeme, thank you. I was expecting a fun answer and it wasn't fun at all.
Yeah, because it's not fun. The reality is we're not in a fun business, really. We're not in entertainment. And when we're dealing with ransom and someone on the end of the situation as a victim, don't mean to be a party pooper, but it's not fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would, I'd like to entertain, but no.
Well, it was better than the entertainment. So, Thanos, have your company ever had an investigation, a success story with it?
Yeah, of course I can't name because of NDAs. There was a case when client had been hacked and they asked us help to trace the funds back to the and help with the investigation. We actually had some email correspondence with the FBI as well. We managed to track some transactions from Tornado Cash into some suspicious wallets and just presented the investigation to the FBI. Now, we don't do arrests. We don't follow up on the case. I don't know if they arrested the guy, but this is as far as we get in terms of forensics and investigation. Again, not the most fun story, but this is what we do.
Okay. Thank you guys for what you are doing. So let's move on and talk about user concerns. So Thanos, could you please tell me what are the most common user concerns regarding KYC and how can they be addressed?
Okay, so speaking from personal experience too, and from as a user and as a service provider, privacy and security is the biggest concerns, right? Users are worried that okay, I'm sharing all this sensitive information in a digital era to some company that they live away. I don't know how they're gonna keep my information, how they're gonna use my information. So privacy and security is what concerns them. Now, how to solve this? I guess transparency is always the best way. Like as a company, you should be transparent about the process that you keep. Certifications help as well, like being SOC 2 secure. Speak about the encryption protocols that you follow, which employees have access to sensitive data. So this is a multi-layer security aspect for companies, and they're trying to provide this credibility, this trust to users that trust them with their information.
Okay, Thanos, thank you. So Graeme, back to you. Let's talk about AI. We've all heard about the cases when people bought some, AI documents and successfully passed the KYC check. So could you please tell us if AI is a potential threat to KYC procedures?
I think the short answer is yes. The longer answer is we've recently seen, if you can imagine, most crypto business are a small entity, small to medium-sized business. So, it's really about your resources and what's available to you and what sort of sophisticated systems that you can use that are generally third-party systems, like an AMLBot type of system to do your KYC, to do your KYT, But we're talking governments. We all saw the deep fake audio of US President Joe Biden recently. So if at government level they're struggling with AI, of course we're going to have a problem with it because we've already got problems. It's not like we have a fail-proof system that absolutely identifies everybody correctly. It's massively improved compared to how it was. Since 9/11, there's been huge steps forward in identifying and monitoring transactions. And FATF and the AMLD Act, all these requirements really improved or called for more measures to be taken on identifying and monitoring the transaction. So yes, we had biometrics come in, and biometrics was useful. You know, we've seen now it's not just sending a selfie. Now you may have to do live likeness checks. But when we see that we have a robot on the other end that is not being identified, I think first of all they could see the technology could almost see in the rendering of the movement of the person that it may not be like at the moment I'm a little bit sick. I've got some kind of, not really sick, but I've got some kind of flu. So you can tell in me that there's probably some kind of croakiness in my voice. It's human nature, right? It's normal, it's natural. A little bit of a temperature and things like that. Now with robots, maybe they won't have that. Maybe they'll just be this perfect representation of a perfection voice, perfection image. And now humans aren't perfect. Can we identify that, hang on, this is almost too perfect to be true, right? So, it didn't take long for them to realize that was a fake version of Joe Biden. It was quite quick. So if this went unidentified, it never went recognized. It's almost like when you see all the containers at a seaport, you know, how are they going to check thoroughly every single container at that seaport? Some are going to get through, right? So how much of it is coming through, we don't know. But we are finding now that there are the intelligence, the AI systems that are combating the AI system. So they need to recognize each other because machine learning is part of this too. So it's change, basically. We've always had adversity to overcome, and we're always going to see change. This is just another change. I don't think it's the last change. It's just another difficult situation to manage within identifying non-face-to-face customers.
Dennis, could you please explain how international AML regulations differ and the challenges these differences pose to multinational companies?
Okay. So yeah, it's a bit challenging because every government has different policy in terms of crypto adoption, different policy about AML regulations on crypto as well. And you can imagine that being on an enterprise level, working on a crypto company, has so many things to take into consideration. We have US compliance and Europe compliance, which are the two leaders in the industry. Usually the other regions just check what they're gonna do. People wait on the SEC to see how they're gonna decide on crypto. Of course, price is also concerned, but we're not talking about price here. And then we have diverse regulatory requirements, cross-border transactions. So imagine you have a company that's operating in a crypto-friendly country and a non-crypto-friendly country. What happens when you do transactions on both sides, or what happens when there is a crime committed on a country that is not supporting crypto officially, like China? Then you have MiCA, you know, the European law that is going to come next year, and everybody's so concerned and talking about. Like you have a European company working in the European Union. Should you move to Dubai? Should you move out of Europe? All these are really important questions, and you know, jurisdictional compliance is something that is going to concern us in the next few months for sure.
Okay, Dennis, thank you. Graeme, we've sort of already discussed this, but could you please tell us, in the context of KYC, what innovative technologies are emerging to improve the verification process?
Yeah, so there's quite a few technological advancements at the moment, and there's different consultations happening out there. One of them is for a digital wallet where you have a digital ID. So I live in an all-digital jurisdiction. I'm from the UK, however, I'm residing in Estonia currently. and they have a digitalized commerce anyway. So all your digital records are basically stored online. You have a digital ID number, and you can do the majority of things very easily through digital, but it's only within this jurisdiction. It doesn't cross-border into other member states. So to have a European central system where the Schengen area they could start with, where digital identification could be used, but in the EU we have GDPR, so data protection is essential, and it's my data. So I choose where I want my data to go. So let's say it doesn't happen anymore, but if I went to get in a club and they said, could you prove your age? You know, I'd be delighted, but they don't ask me. But if they did ask me, then I could maybe show them through my digital wallet just my QR code of my age, let's say. I don't want to show them my passport, my driving license. I don't want to show them my academics. I don't want to show them anything other than that. So to have this sort of like wallet situation, they have got something there that does your medical records, it does your academics. So if you were going for a job, you could simply just prove this is authentic, and it's on the blockchain. You could prove, let's say you had a family and you had a new child arrival, that child goes straight onto the system. And if there's some sort of credit system that this is connected to, your bank automatically gets the payment done within minutes. All this is happening. No queuing up in offices with a piece of paper. And so I think when people start to see the benefit, our individual life becomes easier, because that's what technology is about, right? Is it to be easier and quicker and make an improved life. Obviously, what comes of it is the bad guys. You know, so they're going to jump on this new technology quick, and they're going to try and hack, and they're going to try and do what they can. So this combat is always going to be there. But I think for this digital wallet situation of not having to do KYC every time you go somewhere because you've already got this approval, whether banks can share it, insurance companies can share this. And then when you go on to maybe different exchanges, we've got new things happening now. We've got a crypto travel rule is coming in. So these are identifiers to make sure that the sender and user is identified. And if that matches with the digital wallet to say, yes, these are the same people, it's green lights. The system has got green lights on, the transaction can happen. So there's quite a lot happening. There's lots of sandboxes, there's lots of prototypes. The biggest issue is the trust mechanism. Is it a centralized trust mechanism, or is it a decentralized trust mechanism, like a blockchain sort of situation? Is it a hybrid? This is still taking time, and it's a complicated issue. It's not going to be quick, and this isn't a new topic. It's just now starting to become, the topic is just starting to increase. But when you look at IEDAS 2.0, we're going back 5 years, and they were starting to consult in quite a level then. So yeah, it's lots of technological advancements. Not sure can't really answer to say which one is looking more favorable at this stage, other than things are happening. So this is going to be a new cultural change as well. This will be the interesting part. I'm not sure people are ready. So some are, the younger generation for sure, but maybe the older generation might not see this as an advancement, but we'll see. Most important thing is the safety and security. That's the key.
Okay, Graeme, thank you. So, Thanos, do you have anything to add to Graeme's answer?
No, I think you covered all aspects. The technology behind decentralized ID is zero knowledge proof. This is a really big innovation in cryptographic. So we're expecting a lot of adoption in terms of decentralized ID in the next few years. Okay,
thank you. So, Thanos, so we are talking about KYC, and if it's not sensitive information, I wanted to ask you guys, could you please tell us what were like the weirdest things that were uploaded instead of actual documents? If you can tell us, of course.
Is that who was that to? Sorry, apologies. Yeah.
It's okay. I'll go first. I think we'll both answer that. Yeah. This should be quite funny. So I think my team has seen pretty much everything so far. Funny enough, the weirdest stuff was a guy that didn't go well in the interview, and then instead of applying a utility bill on the form, he uploaded his bank account, and his crypto wallet, and he was trying to bribe us to pass him. So he was like, "Look, look how rich I am! I have so much money." He was trying to bribe us. Of course, we've seen, pictures without clothes. People do do that a lot. Not that much, but yeah, maybe in the past. I think that's pretty much the weirdest things we've seen.
Okay, okay, thank you, Thanos. Graeme, you wanted to add something? We are listening.
Yeah, there's one that comes to mind where it was a live likeness check, where you need to follow a set of instructions, either look left, look right, and then there's also a rotation clockwise and anti-clockwise to move your head. But this person had another person's hand on their head, moving their head for them. So you get 3 attempts. The first attempt, because I've done it myself, I've gone through live likeness, and for some reason I didn't move my head correctly or something, and it says failed, try again. So this was someone's completely different person's hand was on their head, moving it up and down. And it's not funny. It's really not funny, but we need humor, of course. It's important. I don't know if this was ransom because the person just disappeared. They just went. But the situation was it wasn't working because the hand was on the head, but the person with the hand may have thought it's because they're not turning it enough. So the head got turned on each attempt, it got more exaggerated each time. It's like, if it didn't work the first time, it's like putting the PIN number into your bank card, right? You put in your 4-digit PIN card, it didn't work. And it's like putting the same one in again. It's still not going to work. And it's like, okay, so I'll try the same PIN again for the 3rd time. No, it's still not going to work. So this person just thought that they could continue to move this head around. And this poor person sat there with their head sort of like flying around in circles in this hand. It was very memorable, yeah. Very memorable.
Okay, I'm going to ask the question I think we are all thinking. So was this person alive?
Which person? The person who had their head moved around, were they alive?
Yeah.
Well, they were blinking and they were breathing, so I would say they were alive. Yeah. But you're right. We can go to the extremes here because these cases are out there, right? These cases are there's a lot. It's actually bigger than what it sounds a ridiculous thing to say, but you're absolutely right, because using deceased person is a great target for a bad actor, right? We know that. But I've not seen it. I've not seen a live likeness check, to be honest. I've not seen. You might upload a picture of somebody, but I've not seen a live likeness from a dead person. Not that would be quite scary. I think I'd be out of my chair and off if I saw that. Yeah.
Graeme, could you please tell us how regulations in major financial hubs like US or European Union influence regulations worldwide? Thanos sort of touched on that already, but if you could give some comment on that.
I think the influence is fairly subjective at the moment, because we have digital nomads that are very much into the unregulated, decentralized sort of DNA of Bitcoin, why it was created and what market it was created for cross-border transactions, and to be done very quickly with very little anonymity or zero anonymity and address. Okay, so this is its DNA. The rest of it is down to regulation. So when we're looking at EU compared to US, compared to UAE, compared to Singapore, Hong Kong, UK, these are the major financial hubs. And then we go into Asia. So India, huge population, their own regulations, their own way of doing things. And then we go into Africa. So I think the influence is 2 things. One is that it's showing that it can create a safer environment for big investors. That's why ETFs and BlackRock and Bitcoin ETF was created, because they could show some liquidity security and they could show some investor safety. If that wasn't available, I can't see the ETF for Bitcoin would have been approved. So we'll see if Ethereum also gets through. A lot are suggesting that it's not going to be, but again, that's only speculation. So the influence is that more investors will come to the party. That allows for the business to increase. That allows for the industry to be able to use the technology and put it to their advantage. The flip side of that is it going to de-accelerate innovation? Is it going to make it too hard and robust for startups to get the investment in, because they're not going to have the same offering to make it so secure? They're going to have weaknesses in product and in their systems and everything, but innovation needs investment. So we're just at the moment talking about the good guys. Okay, let's forget about the other stuff that happens, because that's just not accountable. That'll always happen in life. That's the way it is. So I think the influence at the moment is sort of showing, yes, with a good regulated, secure, more secure system, larger investment can come in and there's better growth. But there's always the argument from innovators, I think, is it going to de-accelerate? In the EU, we have a rule-based regulation. We live in a rule-based society, so people can adapt to it quite quickly. In other parts of the world, they don't have the same kind of rule-based situation. So we've got accelerationism, which is what technology wants to do. It can create something very quickly. It can really solve a solution, and it's perfectly right, and it can do it. Why are we all holding back? And then the regulators go, no, whoa, we need to understand this. Slow down. And it's too late, because the technology is quick. It's like Model T. It's a Model T in the banking system, and now we've got a Ferrari ready to go. So the two have got to merge somewhere. They've got to meet in the middle. I think it's what I find encouraging is one of the early stages and times that centralized individuals, governments, bodies, regulators, they are now consulting with the private sector, because they don't have the same level of skill set and knowledge and deep understanding of what's going on. And they are now more acceptable to these sandboxes and to these understandings of how they can use it. But I'm not sure if they can work at the same pace. So the boundaries are being pushed harder. The time frames. I think I remember speaking to some expert a while ago, 10 years ago, talking about quantum computing. And this was the next best thing. It's going to completely revolutionize everything we do in every single way. It's not that far ahead today, because of how long it takes for the financial securities markets to be able to adopt these things. We can go on for this. It's going to go on and on. But I think the crux is there is an influence, but I'm not sure the influence is so strong that it's convincing all of the digital nomads to say, yes, let's give us those regulations. We want more, please. I think they're more or less saying you're going to stifle us.
Yeah.
Because at the moment we have situations where, if you think that we've got KYC, KYT, and then we have things like travel rule. So 3 very easy things to say, but those 3 pillars is quite a lot for a company to manage. It's quite a big framework to get through and to manage all your customers. So if we start adding a lot more to it, then it starts stifling down and slowing down and making it even harder. So it's created an industry and it's creating topics. And let's see how that influence rolls out post Mika. Let's see Mika, let's see Vara, let's see all these things develop more. Then we can look back after a couple of years of them being implemented, seeing how the regulations are working and seeing how business and innovators are thriving in this environment. Or have they had to close shop and go somewhere else where they can do what it is they do? But so at the moment, we don't know that, right? I think from my experience in Estonia, we did have that. We had many, I won't quote numbers, but we had many licensed entities. They increased the regulation a lot. Then there was a closed shops and people packed their bags and they left. So let's see if that happens in Europe. Let's see if that happens in Lithuania. I think Lithuania is going to be one of the first countries to not take on the grandfathering rights, because you do have a time period to implement. I believe, or I understand, that they've said they're not going to use the grandfather rights. They're going to go straight in Jan 2025. So let's see how many of their entities have the appetite, they have the funding, they have everything in place ready to be able to move forward, or whether they do. One law firm in Lithuania told me they're expecting 2% retention, and I think that's pretty close.
But Thanos, could you please tell us how can users stay protected amidst change in regulations? What can they do to keep themselves protected?
Okay, so I think that goes back to the first question, and what is the most common fraud, and that goes to social engineering. So the way to fight social attacks is education. Like, users need to get educated on how to protect themselves in terms of holding their digital assets, in terms of how to do it the best way, the most compliant way, because sometimes maybe you don't do it, maybe you do it by mistake, you don't do the best path, you transfer your assets to untrusted platforms, and then you go to try to move them to a central exchange and then to your bank, and questions will be asked, and even though you didn't know and maybe you made a mistake, you might get in trouble. So it's always nice and advised to be proactive and ask ahead what is the best way to hold your assets, what is the best way to move your assets and to trade your assets, to your digital assets, to platforms, or to stake. A lot of people right now are staking their assets to get some yields out of it. Of course, that depends on where you're staying and the local regulatory compliance, but my advice is always be one step ahead, always do your research, and read before you act, not the other way around.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good advice. Thank you, Thanos. So, thank you, Graeme. Thank you, Thanos, for joining me today, for you sharing your insights, your experience, and I hope this is going to be as educational for our viewers as it was for me. And that's it for today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, have a
Thank you
good
for having us.
bye. Have a good day.
Bye.